Today's podcast is supported by David Smith of Edward Jones. Are you happy with your financial strategy? Or maybe like to see what other opportunities are out there? Well, give David a call at 469-372-1587. That's 469-372-1587. David is only concerned about one person, that's you and your financial health. So check him out, David Smith, Edward Jones, 469-372-1587. Hey everybody, it's the Trout. Hope you're having a great day, and welcome to the Trout Show. That intro was from a great band called Jon The Wreck playing live a song they wrote and performed called Hey Hey Mama. Now it might sound like you got a little bit of Southern influences there, kind of reminds you of the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker, Leonard Skinner, but these boys are from California and have been together for years. And they tour all over the world, and they're just a great rock band. I'm so glad that Jon got to speak with me about the band. I think you'll enjoy listening to this because they are kind of a classic rock style, Southern influence, but like I said, they're from California. And their music is just pure rock and makes you feel great. So stay tuned for that real quick for Jon The Wreck, and you'll hear more about what's happened to the band, how they got together. They've been together for like 10 or 15 years, which is unheard of in the music business. And you'll learn about where they're going from here and how they're touring and going to Europe and all sorts of great things about their next album coming up. And they're on number 8, which is kind of incredible when you think about it. So up next, the kind of music that I like a lot from Jon The Wreck. Their story and their music is next on The Trout Show. So I want to start out with a couple of things, and then I'm going to delve more into your music. I usually spend a lot of time talking to people about their history and all that, but I'm so impressed by your music because I'm much older than you, but it sounds like something I grew up on. And the fact that not a lot of people outside the business know who Don Was is, but I do. And you guys have had a lot of really well-known producers that have helped you out, which is amazing to me because, Don has done a lot of famous people. But I want to start at the beginning. You guys have been together. Is the original band the same band that started back years ago? I mean, it says 2011. Is it the same band?
Yeah. No. We've gone through different lineup changes throughout the years, kind of in different segments of our career. But Andrew Espantman, the drummer in Jon The Wreck, he's been with me even before the band was called Jon The Wreck. He's I did like this coffee house tour up the West Coast just because why not? I had the ability to, and
if you can, yeah, sure. Why
yeah,
not?
I called him and he came with me, and I think from what I remember, he played brushes on a snare and used the snare case as the kick. And, we were in my Chevy Silverado. I think there was 4 of us, and, we didn't know any better. I think we were, 20, maybe 21, maybe we were 21. I feel like we might've been having beers, but, yeah. So he's been with me for it has to be, well, probably we're probably getting on 15 years.
Well, I think the thing about it is, and I've been in multiple bands myself, I think one of the hardest things to do is to keep in a band together. For those people that don't know anything about music, first you got to find people that have the same desire
Yeah,
and
definitely.
the same drive, because that sometimes you all get to, oh yeah, we want to play. And then I always found that people didn't want to drive as hard as I did. Okay, yeah, we'll
Sure.
play some bar gigs. We'll do that. Okay, what about a record deal? Oh no, I don't know about that. Let's go to the studio. Oh, so I think it's admirable that you guys have been able to play together. I mean, there's a lot of famous bands out of my state, like ZZ Top, until
Yeah.
Dusty passed away. They've been
Yeah.
together 50 years.
Yep.
So that's admirable in that. And I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that allows you as a band to be more solidified, and also you pretty well know what everybody does. You know the strengths, and when you go in the studio, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, but you go in the studio, you already know it, and you kind of play off each other because you've already been down the path. Because I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to check your egos at the door to a certain degree. Would
Oh
you
yeah.
agree?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're all in it together, man. I mean, it's a brotherhood, and it has to be.
Yeah.
And the band right now, with Warren and Henry, they've been in for I think over 5 years now. So
Yeah.
they've been in the band longer than anyone else has, in the past, and it works because we all have to lean on each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially during those weird times in 2020 and 2021,
Mm-hmm.
we all have each other's back, and it's any relationship, and my wife tells me all the time, but it's all about the communication part.
Yep.
And if someone has an issue, we talk
Yep.
about it in the room, and then we flush it out, and then we move forward. Because if you let things hang on to you, or you don't talk about things, I mean, it just doesn't work
No.
in one aspect or another.
And
So
I think the other thing too is somebody, even though my last band, we broke up during COVID, like so many other people did, but somebody has to be the leader. You may not be the leader, but somebody still has to drive it. And when I came in and I put the band together, they would go like, "Okay, what do you want to do here?" And we had a consensus on stuff, but then it was like me, and I was like, "Oh, okay," because my background is in executive management and stuff like that. But I think the other part of it for me and is you have to get together, and sometimes the best part for me about being in a band is, like you guys been together so long that there's internal jokes that nobody else gets.
oh yeah.
The band has their own thing going on, and people are like, I don't understand why they're laughing. You never will.
No, and even if we tried to describe it, or
You
or give you as many details as possible of why this is such a great thing, it still doesn't land as much, because you have to be there in that moment. You've
Yeah.
had to have gone through that situation, um, and it's yeah, that's why it's a brotherhood in all the aspects, because I mean, even when it comes to music, I mean, I don't have to turn around and I know exactly what Andrew's going to play.
Hmm.
Like, I know what Phil's going to come up next, because I
Hmm.
usually play rhythm, so I'm usually with Andrew more than anything, and
Right. Yeah.
I know when he goes off into that direction, I can follow him, and I don't even have to worry about it, unless he's trying to throw a fast one on us, and then you know. But
So tell me a little bit about your music as far as yourself. What did you grow up listening to?
I grew up listening to oldies radio station with my dad, and old gospel records. Those
Mm.
old, like, quartets, Gaither Brothers, Oak Ridge Boys.
Ah, yeah. Now, did you grow
I
up in
mean,
California? Or you're from
yeah,
California? Okay.
born and raised
All right.
in Southern California. And yeah, so that's what I grew up on. Um, that's what I remember listening to first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember the oldie station on the way to school for however many years, kindergarten through sixth grade, seventh grade. It was always K Earth 101, which is our oldie station here, which is now
Right.
playing classic rock.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but back then they were playing the old Motown hits. And yeah, that's what I remember vividly hearing for the first time. And Oak Ridge Boys were one of the main ones. I mean, I remember listening to that in the house all the time. And
And your music is far removed from Oak Ridge Boys. I mean, as far as what you guys do.
oh yeah, but I mean, that's the base.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then and then I got into classic rock in junior high. Boston, Aerosmith, The Who. I mean, that generation
Yeah.
of that. And yeah, I mean, that was my foundation. You know, in high school, you start listening to whatever's kind of coming out at the time, punk,
Hmm.
and there was a big hardcore phase. And but then, you know, listen through it in high school because you think that that's what you're supposed to do as like a angsty teenager.
Yeah.
And then, but then I always fell back on, you know, the classic rock, and then getting in later years to the Allman Brothers and the Black Crowes, and um, you know, the other music still has nostalgia for me, but that's the music I'm driven to and enjoy, and there's soul to it. With there's soul and rock and roll. It's rock and soul, so
Well,
really what
you have a
works.
Southern influence to your music. I mean, you obviously do. Though you mentioned Allman Brothers a while ago, but you listen to, and one of the things that I think you really have advantage. I'm talking about you personally, is your singing quality. You've got that a little bit of gravel in your throat, you know, that happens naturally, and that kind of adds a color to it. You know, it kind of reminds me of that time with the Marshall Tucker band and Allman Brother band and everybody's coming out at Georgia and all that and Leonard Skinner and all that stuff. So that kind of adds a lot to it. So when you listen to it, I don't know whether you'd agree with this, but I always think that right now that there is a tendency. I think what you guys play, you should be. I think more people are looking for that. I really do because I'm sick of what is playing on the radio, you know, and you go to classic rock, it's the same stuff over and over again. It's like I don't want to hear Stairway to Heaven again. Okay, I'm sick of hearing that. I've heard it enough. I don't want to hear that one Zeppelin song I can't stand, although I'm a Zeppelin fan. A couple of them I play it, it's like, oh my God, could you stop? So your music, and because you can't find anything, you
Yeah,
know, so you do your own playlist or whatever you're going to do. I think your music lends itself to more prominent type. I think more people like in my age group and a little bit younger are looking for that if they grew up on it, but you can't find it. So what do? We go back to listen to the old stuff again. Like you said, I started listening
yeah.
to the Who, you know, um, and you know, you guys have toured a lot. You tour all the time, obviously. I know this is off subject a little bit, but don't you find, because I've talked to other musicians that play in Europe, don't you find it's different playing over there, that they're a little bit more, I don't want to say accepting, but do you get a better response in Europe than you do in America? Or how's
I
it?
mean, yeah. People have asked that too, and we do. Yeah, it's a way different response than we get in the States, but I think, and yes, I mean, I believe that there's a different reception of American rock and roll out there than there is in America as a whole. There's still a lot of people in the States that love that music.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, we've toured a lot in Europe, and we've basically toured more in Europe than we have in the States. So it would make sense that we're getting a bigger response in Europe because we haven't put as many hours and time into the States as we may have thought we might
Yeah.
have. Um, so one of our main goals, like especially this year and moving forward, is putting some more time in the States um, to get that reception equal to both
Sure.
parts. Because I think the people are here, um, but you know, it's the same thing. It's one difference is that we did a radio show in Belgium, and that radio show in Belgium is heard all throughout Belgium, and
Mm-hmm.
even parts of France and parts of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you do one radio show in I'm not going to even say where we did it in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's not the whole of Arkansas.
No,
It's not
no,
parts
it's
of
Little Rock.
Kansas. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And not everyone's. A lot of people in the States don't listen to radio much anymore because, like
They
you said, I
stream.
mean, trying to find something new, and they're just playing a lot of the old stuff. So, you know, I think the marketing and PR has a thing to do with it when it comes to the whole of Europe.
Well,
Um,
and I had this mentioned to me, and it's true. You're not competing with hip hop, rap, or country when you go to Europe. It's not the same. So they don't have that influence. But what you mentioned a while ago, and I've thought about this too, you know, it's been years though, but you know, the bands that used to tour, they'd get, because I remember I'd get up in the morning and listen to somebody that was getting ready to play that night. They get interviewed. They go in the studio and the station, and sometimes they even play their guitars and talk about it, and people could ask them the question as the DJs. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it's very rare that you hear it, and I think that was part of. I don't know why they quit doing it. Maybe it's because it's so packaged now. Everything's done by some program director who knows where. And that's the part I think that I miss is that opportunity. And you guys probably do too. Like when you go to, you said you're in Belgium, they want to talk to you, and I want to know more about the band because it makes you more personable to find out what you really like. I mean, if you put the other thing
Yeah,
too,
sure.
this was told to me too, is they still listen to CDs over there. So if you can go over there as, over here, as because you toured, it's not like it was before. You go like, buy their album and go, oh, they're coming to town. Now you don't, you can't really do that. I mean, you go and listen to them, but there's so much music out there that in Europe, it's a little bit different because then you can, when you go in, they can, oh, I can go buy your CD.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I just
It's a
think it's interesting.
different world.
Yeah, I mean, I think
mean,
it's very
as,
interesting.
as when it comes to that stuff, it's a very different world. Um, which is interesting because, you know, as a world, we all went through very similar things just now. But
Right.
when it comes to that, it is a very different space. And it's been great to us, and we continue to. I mean, we'll be back there in May and July, and then again in August, and so it's a treat. We love it.
So you're working on you just how many albums you had out? Five, six, how many have you had now?
I mean, I think it's seven.
Is it seven now? Okay.
I think I barely can keep track. I'm
So are
sure
you,
people
you just
listening to
you
this are going to
just
be like,
and I
he's
know I
wrong.
got some. Did you just release an EP or you're doing that or
Yeah,
okay
yeah,
with that which is I've listened to it before. I listened to it again a while ago.
yeah. It's called One of a Kind. It's four
Yeah, that's
tracks.
it. That's it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I when you guys get together, is there a common person that writes the music or you work together as somebody who comes in with the idea and say I like this song? How does it work for you guys?
We are all writers, which is awesome and great,
Cool.
and we
Yeah.
all work together
Yeah.
on these songs. I mean, if someone has an idea, we flesh it out in the room and we put it together. And if someone has a verse and a chorus, but they don't know where to go, then we flesh it out. And whether it's we all we all share the duty in songwriting, which I think is why we've been able to record so much and have as much music out as we do, because it's really cohesive and we're all together, and we have five brains working together on these projects. So the weight is not held on one person's shoulders.
Yeah.
um, and there's certain records where one person will write a little bit more than someone else, and then on the next record that other person
Sure.
writes a little bit more.
Well, that's the
And
way creative process works because you
yeah,
never know when it's going to come to you. As a songwriter myself, you never know when it's going to come to you. And
yeah,
that's one of the things I like about your music. It's more, um, it's got that, I can't explain it to you. It's got more stuff like when you start a song, it's got more of the, you're doing some E stuff and playing some notes instead of just playing with chords and stuff like that. And it's not, you don't have, I mean, there's some keys on it too, but you don't have synthesizers. You don't have any of that
yeah,
stuff going. It's just kind of a raw approach to it, which we used to have all the time. And listening to it, and there's, of course, this is what happens because you have a thread, which it all has a tendency, it doesn't sound like, but you can tell it's the same band. And so
yeah, for sure.
when tell me how you guys then I know it used to be and it's not the same anymore, so you got the EP out. Do you guys then go out and try to promote your EP? I mean, obviously you've got with all the songs that you guys done, what's a typical show if you get an opportunity? What's a typical show length? Hour and a half, 2 hours, hour and a half? What do you typically play?
Yeah, it's usually about 90 minutes plus an
Okay.
encore if it's asked for.
Yeah.
um yeah, and I mean, we get to the, beforehand that sounded like a mission. I mean, we would play
Mhm.
25-minute instrumentals because either my, or in the early on, because we needed we needed the time to fill.
Concerned about your financial health? And reach out to David Smith with Edward Jones. 469-372-1587. That's 469-372-1587. He can conduct business where you are. Get your financial health checkup with David Smith with Edward Jones. His number one concern is you. That's David Smith with Edward Jones. 469-372-1587. Yeah.
And now we can't even fit all the songs we would like to play in 90 minutes. So it gives us liberty to kind of change up the set quite a bit,
Right.
especially when we're playing 2 hours down the road. And I mean, I know this last run that we did in the States, there was a couple that came to 3 of them, and then there was another couple that came to 4, and then in Europe there was a couple that came to 5.
Wow.
So we have people coming to multiple shows, which is it's awesome.
Yeah, no kidding.
And also kind of puts us in our place, meaning like, we're not going to do the same exact show every night.
No. Yeah.
Because we want, if they're traveling from Pennsylvania, 7 hours down and getting hotels and traveling throughout, I mean, we want to give them the best show possible and the best experience possible.
That's got to be very rewarding, though. That's got to be rewarding for you. I mean, as a performer, that people come up to you and say, "I was here and I'm here. I drove down this," and you're like, "Wow, really?"
Yeah.
I mean, so and then you must turn and everybody go and think, "Well, we must be doing something right."
Yeah, I mean, just the fact of people enjoying our music is really what we set out for, and then anything on top of that is, people telling us that song meant the world to them at a certain time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge for us.
Yeah.
And then people coming out to the shows in general, and then people coming to multiple shows. I mean, it's appreciated, and it's what fuels us to keep moving and keep going and
Sure.
and keep doing what we're doing.
Do you think that a band like yours, there's so much competition out there now? Are your goals? I assume everybody in what you do, you want to play bigger and bigger places. But don't you think it's getting harder and harder to compete with so much other music out there? I mean, you're kind of in a unique area. You're in your own silo, so to speak, but so is everything else to a certain degree.
Sure.
But you're not going to be, there is no such thing as top 40 radio anymore. That's all gone. Do you believe, and you've been doing this a long time yourself, you've been doing it for a while, has it gotten harder or easier, or has it been the same for you guys to get more people to come to your shows or become more prominent and people know who you are?
I think it's learning. It's a learning battle the whole time, because early on, you think if I book a show and tell people about it, then people come.
Yeah.
And then you realize, well, just having a show doesn't mean anything.
No.
You have to give people the reason to come. So if you have music that's not great and you book a show and no one's there and you get upset because the system is flawed, it's that's not really how it works. I mean, you could play a bar gig at a bar that's cracking on a Friday night and people are there and that's a lot of fun, but they're not there for you.
No,
they're there because they want to
be at the
drink
bar
and have a good time and they're enjoying the music. So we've just been figuring it out as we go, and marketing and getting the music in front of in people's ears is a whole nother mission that has to happen, and it has nothing to do with booking a show and going out and playing it.
No.
And social media now has become a vessel that can be used if you know the proper way to use it. And luckily I have people in my band who spend time and learn how it's properly supposed to be used. I'd have no idea.
Tell me about how it came about that Don was decided, or you guys decided to work with him, or he decided to work with you. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, really. We started working with Journeyman Records, which is Joe Bonamassa's label, and the team over there, and we got to meet some great people.
Have you talked to Joe? Have you met Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were in the studio with him not too long ago, which has yet to be released. And yeah, we were just throwing out some ideas of people who would be great. And we have a great band mom, as we like to call her, named Sharon, and she's well influenced in the whole recording world. And
Uh,
she was able to connect us, and Don seemed to enjoy what he was hearing and wanted to work with us. And so yeah, we got in the room with him, and I feel like the first 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes, you're like, where am I?
oh
We're
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And then it's so comfortable that he just creates the space, and you're like, okay, well, we're here to do our job and work together. And it was a great experience, man. I mean, it was, and you don't even think about it until after it's over, and you're like, guys, what did we just do?
Well, he becomes the
Um,
producer becomes part of the band.
oh yeah,
They really do.
yeah,
And when you got a guy like that with the history that he has, if I walked in there, I'd just thinking, okay, first off, why am I here? Am I really worthy to having this guy? And secondly, okay, he's going to have some great ideas. And third, am I going to be one of these people that go, do I really want to listen to him? Because then that mind goes through as well. Yeah, I know who he is, but I got my own ideas. So
hmm
that all runs through your mind, I'm sure. But you get back to what I think it's really cool too that Bonamassa has done this thing with this label because I think there's a couple other bands I've done that work with him. And obviously a lot of the music is like yours because that's, you know, it's kind of cool that you have that opportunity because you got a guy that owns the label that understands the music
sure,
industry. And that just changes the whole thing because the labels don't they understand it, but their job is to make more money. And
yeah. I mean, it's a different kind of beast, if you
yeah,
will. It's there to. I mean, money's still a thing. We
oh
all
sure
have
it
to
is.
live,
You got to make money. Yeah,
and people want to make money for the efforts that they're putting out.
sure.
But there's a growth that is seen compared to another label. They put you on the label. Okay, your record's not selling. Why is it not selling? They'll boot you. Move on. But in this version, it's seen as the overall aspect. We got to put in the work here to then you know have growth here.
Yeah,
It's not a we put in the work and we have all the growth right now,
right,
or money or whatever it's looking like.
right.
So and being in a band, I feel like that can be harmful for young bands too, thinking that, hey, we've been doing this for 2 years, why haven't we caught a break or
Mm.
anything? And I remember my drummer Andrew, we sat there and said, hey, let's reevaluate this in 10 years. That was our ideal. I mean, it was
Yeah,
like, cool,
yeah,
10 years down the line, I
yeah,
hope that we're making something.
yeah.
So
But I really believe too that a lot of the people everybody I talk to that are in the business, they are driven. And I know this sounds silly, probably people that aren't musicians, but you would do what you do if you could and not get paid if you could live without doing. I mean, in other words, if I never got paid but I got my living covered, I'd still do it. Because you're driven. It's just like you just kind of basically said that. I mean, you said I'm going to look 10 years and I hope we're making something. You know, but and then you look at it and go, why do they keep doing this if they're not making any money? You can't explain that. You can't. And
no, I
and
mean, and there's a different level, there's different
oh,
levels of
sure. Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's and if you don't set out and do it and go through hell to do it,
Yeah.
then you know you can't say that oh well, I tried it and it didn't work for me. Well, did you put everything into it? I mean, there's different labels of success for different
Right.
people,
Right.
and there's different goals for different people, and
Yeah.
there's comforts that are needed for certain people that aren't for other people. Everyone's different in how they look at it, and how they move forward with their decisions and their hopes.
Well, I go back to what I said earlier, and that is your band all has the same drive to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
That's a big deal right there, and it's hard to find people that do that. And sometimes people, they have to understand somewhere along the line, you always have dues to pay somewhere. And you
Of course.
may get lucky and get the lottery ticket, and somebody sees your YouTube video and they go, oh, yeah, we want to do something with him. And then you're one hit wonder or whatever. But to have sustainability like you guys do, you got to be, because young people that I talk to, they get all excited. And I tell them, I said, here's the thing. And I was telling somebody the other day, a friend of mine, he's a musician part time. And I said, I was talking to a band that is doing right now on a 70 city tour, big tour. And I said, I saw him here in the Dallas area, and I talked to all the musicians, the people around the band, because I like to. And I told him, I said, look, think about this. They get finished. They had a bus, and the next thing they do, they're on the bus, and they sleep on the bus to go to the next place. Night after night after night. And when they get on stage, they have to pretend they haven't been on the road for 50 days. And they have to actually know what town they're in. You may not, in Europe, you may not be able to pronounce the town, but you got to be able to say, well, hey, thanks, fill in the
Yep.
blank town. And I said, they do that all the time. It becomes a job. It's only for that moments that you're on the stage that it's all worthwhile. And that's what drives you.
Truly. I mean, if the stage was not there, um, there wouldn't be the drive and passion to go do it, because um, we get so much energy back from the crowd.
Oh,
It
sure.
almost fills up the tank.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everything on tour other than the stage, you know, takes slowly takes everything out of you.
Hmm.
And then once you get on stage and the crowd's loud and you're feeling it, that's what fills you back up for the next day. And
That's a good analogy of it, because
and
when you're
it
playing, it sucks the life out of you. And sometimes it's very minor and that may never somebody else ever saw. It might be somebody in the
oh yeah,
crowd that goes like, I love your music, or and that's all it takes.
we try to talk to everybody after the show as much as possible.
Yeah.
And
Well, you can do it now, because when you do, if you hopefully you get to the point you're an Eric Clapton, you can't.
yeah,
You
and that's
can't. But you still have. So you still. All right. Let's go to that point. So when you get done, um, you have an opportunity to go out and shake hands and talk to them. I
yeah,
think that
oh
makes
yeah,
a big difference. I really do. I think that puts it very much in them, and you're a real person then.
yeah. And I mean, it's meaningful to us too,
Yeah.
um,
Oh, sure.
as well as I hope it's meaningful to them. But like, just like you said, just a thumbs up. But like, talking to one person who just had a hell of a time, and no, like, just an example, like maybe if I was like, man, that show was rough, man, I wasn't in the right headspace. But
Hmm.
you walk out there and you talk to two people who just had the best time in the world, and then everything goes away. I'm like, oh, well, let's do it again.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's the magic of being a performer. Are you doing some more stuff in the States and going to Europe then, or what's the? I looked at your tour schedule some because it was like only a month out or something like that.
yeah, I mean, we hit the road again with Blackberry Smoke on the 12th of April, and then we're back in the studio, and then we're back on the road with them, and then we do some more stuff through Texas and
Yeah,
over to
it'll
the
be in
East
the Dallas
Coast,
area. Yeah, yeah,
and then
middle of
we're
April.
home for a week, and then we fly to Europe for 4 days, and then we're home again, and then we're back up in the Northeast. I mean Northwest, and I could keep going.
Well, but all right. So let me
But
ask. This is
yeah,
an
there's a lot,
interesting
lot of
name.
things.
So you have to have people that do all the logistics for you. Who does? I mean, do you
We
have management staff that does all that stuff? Because you can't do it all.
we do a lot.
Do you really?
We do have management that does a lot, but as far as like travel and logistics
Yeah.
and getting from point A to point B, that's kind of still what we do. Um, but uh, we've been doing it for so long by ourselves
Yeah, you're used
that
to it.
that there's still kind of control freak stuff going on.
Yeah, I understand that.
When I still book the hotels every night, and I make sure that we can park the van there. I make sure it's in a safe place. I make sure there's, it's near the venue, but not, as near to the venue as possible. But
Right.
if we have a 5 hour drive the next day, I make sure that it's on the other side of the city, so we're
Yeah.
not backtracking.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot there and there's a lot to be done. And that's why, having 5 guys in the band who can all
That's
do
great.
small assets of the business, and then having the management team to do the bigger stuff it almost, I mean, if we were still on our own and we had as much stuff going on as we do now, we'd probably be pulling our hair out. But it's nice to have a team and different people kind of
Oh, sure. So when you play in
doing.
Europe, your back line, you don't take anything with you, you just take your instruments, or do you ship those over there too? Or just
We usually
you
bring
lease the back
guitars,
line?
and yeah, we lease the
Oh,
back line out
okay.
there. Now I have 2 guitars out in Europe that live there, so
I
there's
like
not a
that
lot of
idea.
travel for that. Yeah.
Well, I just think that you guys, I really like it, the opportunity to talk with you because I really like your music. And so you guys are just going, going, going. You said you're going back to studio. Have you got stuff ready for that, or you just kind of bring stuff in that you talked about?
You know, um, there's I'm trying to put it into words.
Gotcha.
Um, we have ideas, we have things that we know are gonna be fine and great. We have ideas without melodies. We have lyrics without, I mean, it's
But you're not
basically
going in there and just get totally blank. I mean, you guys
not
know,
not
okay,
totally blank. We have
but
we
I
have a lot of work
understand
to
what
do
you're
in the next
saying.
four
I
days.
understand. I got it. Yeah, yeah, I know. But I got it because you guys are a
Yeah,
band. You have ideas all the time.
yeah, and I think the the more and more crunched our lives get, um, the more stuff we would be doing in the studio, and we kind of got to see that. And last time we were there, and the product was great. So sometimes when you're put under pressure like that, your brain goes into a different creative space,
Mm.
almost like some sort of dimension that maybe you can get to with drugs. I don't know, but no, just a different kind of headspace when you
Yeah.
know that you have a mission to accomplish and it needs to get done. And yeah, it's uh, it's a whirlwind that we're still learning and
You're still
figuring out.
riding a wave. That's the best part
Yeah,
about you guys are still riding a wave. If you had a wand to wave, what would you do when you had all the money in the world? What would you want the band to do? I mean, what would you do differently?
if I had all the money in the world,
I mean, if you could wave a wand and
uh-huh,
say, here, I want to be here in 2 years or 5 years, where would you be?
I would be playing music on the road and being able to support my family and have enough time with my family as well as on the road, and be doing exactly what we're doing right now.
Can you hear the words I say? I'm just looking to be free. So I'm asking for your attention.
Well, that's it for this episode of The Trout Show. Thank you so much for listening. A very, very special thank you to Robert Jon of Robert Jon The Wreck for coming in and talking about his band. We wish him much success. For more information about Robert Jon The Wreck, you can go to his website. It's all spelled out. Robert Jon, that's Jon, and the Wreck, WRECK.com. Also, a very special thank you to David Smith of Edward Jones, who keeps us going. For more information about The Trout Show, you can visit us at thetroutshow.com and find out about our podcast and also all our YouTube videos. So thanks again for listening. Until the next time, remember, folks, it's only rock and roll. But golly darn it, we love it. See ya.